Well, good morning. It is January 14th, 2026. This is our first broadcast of the new year. And been a little excited to do this, but we've just been kind of putting it off because we've been doing other things around here.
However, we have been talking about it.
Yeah, we've been talking about it. There's been a lot to talk about, quite honestly. And I think the direction we'll go with this is just kind of freewheeling it as we normally do. But it's good to sit down with you here the first part of this year, Rebecca, and get it started for season 4. How are you doing this morning?
I really can't complain other than our mornings are kind of cold. So it makes it a little difficult to want to get out of bed and get, the bones moving, but got to do it.
Yeah, no, it's in the heart of winter and it feels good around here. Right now, we've got a very nice morning out there. No wind, a little frosty, but we've got all the tender plants covered up and everything that's needs to be frost protected has been. And so we're kind of dug in and prepared for that colder type weather that we've been having. But it's actually been pretty nice around here.
Yeah, I noticed that you had the well covered up.
I did cover the well because, obviously this time of year, things get a little bit sticky as it relates to the points out there. Mm-hmm. And so I just wanted to get that covered up along with the lettuce and, some of the other things. It's not been cold enough where I need to worry about any of our citrus, but this year's actually been the first year since I planted a couple of years ago on the south side of our house, a number of not fruit trees, but just citrus over on that side. It's a really good location because it receives that early morning sun. So it kind of helps with the frost protection. Plus it's protected over on that side. And it's just the trees are actually starting to produce a little bit. So I've got a tangerine out there that we've been nibbling on, right?
Yes, you where I had said something about the tangerines out there, and you said, "Did you eat the one on the ground?" Well, I can confirm that now. Yes, I have eaten the one that was on the ground.
How was it?
It was good.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, right now we've got the sun over on this side of the house coming through this window, which is something we've never actually sat down and done. Usually our broadcasts are considerably later in the day, but this morning we got up and thought, maybe we should do a live stream. Right. So here we are.
Yeah. With no warning at all. Just let's get up and kind of throw on some clothes and sit down and hash it out.
Yeah, for sure. New Year's was good around here. Very quiet as it is with us for the last few years. No need to stay up and celebrate. Right. It's not anything that people of our vintage typically wind up doing. It's just another year, but it is nice to ring in the new year. And
our neighbors did, though.
Sure did. And, we really don't miss it every year because it's like I don't know what you want to call it, but they were using all kinds of weaponry out there and woke us up.
Making a ruckus.
Yeah. They were shooting and blowing shit off probably for a good solid hour until it kind of faded off. But pretty solid for about 45 minutes. I mean, they were just, it's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. But here we are, January 2026. Welcome to Porterhouse and Teal Live, episode 130, season 4.
Yeah, I would say that for us, it kind of worked out nice because we ended up having Christmas a few days early. We had it on the 21st. Mm-hmm. And that turned out good because we had family members that ended up being sick. So if we did it on the 25th, they wouldn't have been able to partake. Yeah. And then, of course, that whatever they had, the flu or a cold or whatnot, kind of drug out. So Christmas kind of extended itself almost a little through New Year's. There were some gifts that weren't able to be opened until after the fact, too. But Christmas Day was extremely quiet for us.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was. Things around here are just keeping me busy outside. And it never, whenever you have a homestead, things are never completely done. There's always things to do, whether or not you have property or you don't have property. There's always things to do on the inside of the house. There's things to do on the outside of the house. That's just part of life. But one of the things that goes on this time of year around here for me is what I kind of refer to as the limbing season. And so, as the trees go dormant, particularly with my fruit trees, is I need to go out there and prune those. And so it's not something that you actually have to do, but it's certainly going to help be able to manage the crop a lot better by putting all the energy rather into the limb growth. It's gonna focus that growth into the fruit, and then you're also going to be able to kind of manage it at a more reasonable level, so you don't have trees that are 20 feet tall and you need to get up on a ladder. So that's something that I've been doing this time of year. And also out there, it's important, at least from my perspective. It's, again, not something that you absolutely have to do, but treating your trees, the fruit trees that are out there, with not only fungicide, but also like a dormant oil. And so what I do this time of year, after the leaves have dropped, before the buds swell, is I'll go out and I'll treat the trees with a horticultural or dormant oil, as it's also referred to as. And really what that does is it helps to control some of the overwintering pests that might be, may have laid eggs on not only the buds, but laid eggs on the tree itself, like within the bark and such. And so if you treat those now, it's going to help to smother out the eggs so that they can't get air, and it will kill them in place. And so things that it helps to control are things that are very much a problem soon as things start to warm up in the springtime, like aphids, and mites and different things like that. So that's very important to do, as well as I've been going out and spraying copper, which is go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to ask you what the copper was for. I know you asked me to pick it up, but I had really no idea what copper is used for.
Sure. Yeah, no, copper is, it's a bactericide and a fungicide, meaning that it's going to kill both fungi and bacteria. Same type of deal, but it's going to help to kill that stuff in the overwintering stage. So certain trees are very susceptible to different types of, disease, whether it be fire blight, or I'm sure most people have.
What is fire blight? I've never heard of that.
It's just a bacteria, a fungi that attacks certain types of trees more prevalently than others. And so it's just kind of a broad spectrum treatment for all of those different types of diseases that are out there. So peach leaf curl, I'm sure you've heard of that. That's very, very prevalent. Certain trees that are like your stone fruits, your apricots, your cherries, your peaches, nectarines, pluots, things like that, apriums, all of those types of stone fruits are going to be susceptible to certain types of either bacteria or fungi that grows on the tree, and you want to try to minimize that. So right now is a good time to treat that. And you want to treat it when it's like this morning would be perfect. No wind. We have temperatures that are reaching above 45 degrees Fahrenheit, and
barely.
No, it is. It's getting into
it's getting into the
60s in the afternoon. So it's not cold by winter standards. But
I was referring to this morning. In the morning time, it's not quite that temperature, but yes, in the afternoon it gets warm. Yeah, no, so that's what you want. And then you want it to be on there for about 12 hours. So you wouldn't want to spray it before rain or something. And then you want to do it at least once, preferably up to about 3 times before it breaks. The buds begin to, break bud. But that's what I've been doing, along with picking up and pruning all of the other things that are
need to be done. If you don't do that, you have basically a jungle out there. So it's just constant, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, in this time when it starts to get a little cool in the evening, this is when you refer to our dinners as comfort food.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of chili or stews, things like that are nice. So you can sit down with some garlic bread and a bowl full that warm you up. But along with that, that's helping us go through the supplies that we've put away, such as the beef broth or like that. And then what that does is it opens you up to having to store more mason jars.
Right. Yeah, it's never ending, but that's just part of the beauty of, doing that sort of thing with making your own stuff. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually went through some of the cupboards and was just trying to reorganize them so that instead of trying to put them up and use them as, say, a glass, make them useful throughout the year, I was boxing them and labeling them and trying to store them so that I could pull them out and know exactly what's in that box for when I go back to canning.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty smart thinking. Man, I got too many chickens. I just do out there. There's the young birds should be coming online here probably in the next month or so. I would suspect we'll start seeing eggs from them if we haven't already. But I got too many birds out there. We've got way too many chickens. And so I'm going to have to do some chicken killing, some thinning. And when we do that, I don't think I'll make any content on it or whatever. I've already made a video or two of, what I do in that process, but we'll be butchering those up and basically kind of running them through the freeze dryer because Ellie may need some new dog treats. And you can do something with those birds, but I don't find them to be too delicious or palatable. I mean, you could grind them up. You could take and beat them up with a tenderizer and all that, but fuck it. They're going to get fed to the dog.
Mm-hmm. And she loves them.
Yeah.
And she actually goes through them quite quickly.
Yeah. It's very, very healthy for her. So that's something we like doing. But the chicken yard, man, that takes up a good bit of my time going out there, managing that. And
it's a lot of chicken poop.
It is a lot of chicken manure. But it all just goes back into making compost. So, I've got to go out there and actually move some piles around. I shot some content regarding the chicken yard and kind of what I was doing, incorporating some of the different things in there. Haven't put anything together yet to get it out to YouTube, but I'm considering, maybe doing that. Mm-hmm. But I've been a little slow on the uptake on that, the content production, but nonetheless, work is still going on here around the place quite a bit. Yeah.
We, when we purchased the chicks, we got half of them, close to half of them as the Novich and Browns and the other half, the Novich and Whites. Excuse me. And certainly I found out that the temperament of the Novich and Browns are way more chill than the White.
Yeah. I knew that going in. Leghorn chickens are just a lot more kind of high strung. Mm-hmm. They're a good bird from the standpoint of the feed conversion ratio. They can produce quite a bit for you without really putting a lot into them. They're pretty good foragers. They're really good in the heat. I don't know how they're going to do for the egg production. I think they're going to be less than the Browns, but I knew that going in because they come from Leghorn genetics, and Leghorns are just that way. Leghorns actually are pretty good if you actually had wanted them to be like a free range type of a bird that you had them out on your place or what have you, because they are so skittish and kind of flighty. You don't want to have your more lazy type of a bird like your I'm drawing a blank on them now, but just one of the hybrid type meat and layer type chickens.
I like that. I want to say Dominique.
Buff Orpington is what I was looking for. Yeah, they wouldn't make the best for that because they don't have the ability to evade like a more wiry type of a chicken, like a high-strung leghorn.
You know who would really like if you wanted to let some out in free range?
Our dog?
She would love to chase them.
Yeah, she would. But what we've been doing here the last couple of weeks is we've been going out to what are called the Frosty Fun Runs. And this is something that I used to do a lot more when I first got into running. And these Frosty Fun Runs are for about 7-week period. They run a series in the first part of the year called the Frosty Fun Runs. And then in the middle of summer, they run another series called Sunset Through the Trees. And it's basically just a local guy with a local running club that brings his timing equipment out. And then you show up and you get to run these short courses. One course is like 2 miles and the other one's like 4 miles. Mm-hmm. So you can choose to run either of the courses and it only costs you $5, which is, you can't run a race anywhere for less than that, quite honestly. So you get to pin on a bib and then they basically time you throughout this event. And then they have like a series at, kind of at the end, they have awards or whatever for, people in the different age groups and whatever. But we started running that. This week will be the 3rd week that we've done it. And so, it's been kind of fun getting up and doing that.
Yes. I'd have to say I'm much slower than Eric. However, he has been quite the encouragement. Once he finishes his race, he kind of backtracks and locates where I'm at. And then I have my personal cheerleader there going, come on, you can do it. When I really want to slow down. Keeps me moving. Yeah.
It's always interesting how much faster you can run when you're around other people. And I think that just goes to show that, you're motivated by others around you doing similar things. And then you're also motivated by the competition of that experience. Mm-hmm. I run way faster when I'm racing. I would never be able to do, well, I can't say that I would never be able to, but in reality, it's kind of true because you just don't have the motivation intrinsically within you to do that when there's nobody watching. Mm-hmm. If that makes any sense, right? That you just get that encouragement, that extra boost of, oh, I guess I can continue to go. Even though when you're out there doing something and it's hard, you tell yourself, this fucking sucks. I'm going to slow down because it kind of hurts. Mm-hmm. Right?
It does. However, when you are just behind, say, a kid that and I refer to a kid as 20, 30, because I'm much older. We won't go there. You leave that alone.
I was just going to wait until you brought it up. I didn't say a thing about you being older. You brought it up.
When you see them in front of you and you can hear that they're breathing kind of hard.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh gosh, I know if I go a little faster, I can pass up that kid,
right.
And so that kind of gives you encouragement too.
Yeah, no, you've done really well. I'm proud of you. And, I'm actually kind of stoked on my own abilities because I used to be a lot faster than I am now. And it sucks when you get older and then you're comparing yourself against your previous self. And that's kind of what I think tend to all do. If you're competitive at all with yourself, I want to try to get the best out of myself when I do things like this. And, you're always kind of measuring, well, gee, in 2014, I was doing it at this speed and now I'm doing it at this speed, but it's just as hard. It hurts just as much. Mm-hmm. But I had a goal of running sub 8-minute pace. So, anything under 8-minute per mile, I would have been happy with. And my first race, I ran a 7:37 pace, which I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then last week I ran a 7:20 pace. And so this week I'm hoping to actually either do as good or possibly better than that, given the fact that it's a flatter, faster course. So we'll see how things transpire, but that's kind of what we've been doing around here. It's been kind of fun. Old people running.
Yep. And for me, practicing around here, I've been able to contact neighbors and ask them if it's okay if I run up around their property. Mm-hmm. in doing that, I have ended up talking to more of our neighbors and visiting and finding out, what's going on in their life and whatnot than I have in the 25 years that we've lived here. So it's actually kind of been nice because it's almost like community building.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's actually really cool. I think people tend to know who I am more so than they do her because I'm outside more than she is. And so, people are waving or I'm out, and I wave or what have you, and they get to know who you are. But I think it's just important to get out in your neighborhood. We live around people. Mm-hmm. And then most people come home and they just shut themselves into their little cubicle. And then you got somebody living right next to you and you never even fucking talk to them. And that's just kind of a weird thing if you think about it.
It is, but I just find that for me, I'm coming and going so much that I don't stop and visit. But even though I would like to continue because I want to finish running, within an hour or whatever time that I set for me to go out, mm-hmm. I've been taking the time to stop and talk to the neighbors. So my run ends up going longer than I'd anticipated, but I'm just getting to actually visit with them where, like I said before, we just kind of come and go. And it's not even just them, it's their pets too. Their pets are like excited to see me.
Yeah. That's
which is really cool.
That's good. That's good. Well, I wanted to, I guess it's going to be kind of political here from this point on in the discussion. I wanted to, now that we're coming up on a year of the Trump administration, I wanted to kind of maybe do a little assessment, you and I, of where we think he's at. And of course, that's important to do because, everybody has an opinion on things, even if they don't know what they're talking about. And we're no different than that.
True.
Everybody wants to weigh in on certain things, regardless of whether or not you have inside information or not. But it's really the optics of everything that shapes and kind of frames how we see how things are going in the world. And, mm-hmm. and I just find that to be completely interesting, I guess, to me, because everybody makes a determination on, what's going on around them based on either what they see, experience, or hear. And at this point in history, we certainly hear a lot of different things, unless you've made the conscious decision to completely withdraw and not engage with things that are going to feed you that information. But there's just so much information out there constantly. And now I would say that if we didn't pay attention to what's taking place, we would have no idea, quite honestly, because our lives haven't changed dramatically in one way or the other. Right?
Correct.
Right.
I think the only thing you would possibly notice is the fact that prices are going up or prices are going down. In our case, the prices are either going up or they're maintaining, but they're not really going down.
Right. And so that's something that I think we can talk about as it relates to assessing the different things that, this administration had outlined as priorities for them. And I think that's really all that you can do, because it's like in when you're looking at something like, hey, how's this issue? You want to take a side, and typically people align with the side that most closely aligns with what they want it to be. Yeah. Right? If you want the outcome to be, well, this is what we're doing, and these are the reasons why I support that, you're going to look for that to support that argument. And if somebody disagrees with it, you're going to either dismiss it or you're going to look somewhere else to find somebody who can validate what it is that you want it to be. And so it's interesting. Probably about 3 weeks ago, when we just had done our first Frosty Fun Run, and we were up in Reading, and you were in the store, and I was sitting out in the car with Ellie. My son had called me, or he'd sent me a text, and he says, "Hey, what do you think about this thing in Venezuela, man?" This was like right after we kidnapped Maduro. And I said, well, I don't know. I said, I called him, so we could talk about it, because I'm like, yeah, I just heard that. And I think my initial reaction to him was that I don't really know. because I don't have all the information. On one hand, I think it's probably not such a fucking good idea going into another country that's sovereign, whether or not we agree with their policies or not, and then swooping down and scooping this dude up. I said, but I don't have all the information as to know why they're doing it and for what's the reason. And then, so of course, subsequently it comes out that, one of the reasons we're doing it is because we have Russia and China coming in, and they're going to be encroaching in as, to glom onto all this oil or what have you. And so, maybe that's the case, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe it is in our interest to do that. But just from the standpoint of how it looks, it just doesn't really look like a great idea. At least that's my take on it at this point. And so that was kind of the start of like everything that's happened in the last few weeks. And I just was like holding my breath, not really holding my breath, just holding my tongue about saying anything about it, because I don't want to be knee jerk and just say, well, this is this reason. And, let's go in there and kick some ass. And then, you've got those people, right, that are just like, yeah, fuck around and find out, here comes America. We're going to take your shit. And they're totally cool with it. And then you have other people that just because it's this administration doing it, they want to make the judgment that it's like the worst thing in the world. And again, I don't have all the answers to that, but just what do you think about how this has appeared to you?
Well, I've always been on the impression that, if you just tend to your own and leave others alone, there would be a lot more peace. That's probably not realistic, but it seems like that would be nice. Nobody would be fighting. Nobody would be. However, when you hear that other countries are encroaching in on you, and you have to make this move to be able to kind of keep them at bay, part of you is thinking, well, that's probably a good idea. Mm-hmm. You don't want them to move in on you, but are you being told the truth? Mm-hmm. So you're kind of left, on one hand, it seems like it'd be a good idea. On the other hand, if you're not being told the truth, it's probably not a good idea.
Right. Has there been any other time in history that our government hasn't told you the truth? Do you think that they would do that? Do you think that our government would say anything in order to influence the decisions that they're making, to lend it to look like to the public that, hey, this is the reason why we're doing it, and it's in our best interest? Would they ever do that? I don't know if our government would ever do that.
I think our government has done that from the beginning of time.
Well, there you go. See, there you go. And I think this is part of the difficulty that I'm in, because you want to be that person that's not just seeing a boogeyman around every corner, but when history has shown us that our government has just been so incredibly deceitful, and they've lied about things over and over and over for maybe the best for stability in the world. Because here's the other thing. People can look at the lens of history right now and say, oh, well, Vietnam, that was kind of a fucked up war and we shouldn't have done that. But here's what you don't know. You don't know what things would look like in the world today if we didn't do that.
Yeah.
Right? If we didn't do the Korean War, if we didn't do what we did in Libya or Syria or any of these other places, Lebanon, or any of the other things that we've done, seems like a bad idea, right? It seems like, oh, that didn't work out so fucking good. Everybody hates us. Well, okay, that's great.
So you could say the same thing for Venezuela. If we didn't,
that's the point.
The others, but you don't know.
That's the point I'm making, right? Mm-hmm. It's easy to sit here and say, well, we shouldn't have done that. That's just not right to do. But we don't know, because history hasn't been able to flesh things out. And so I think there's a lot of people making all these pronouncements about, well, it's this and it's that. But here's the reality. They don't fucking know.
Mm-hmm.
They're just going based on what their feelings are. They don't know. And so I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at.
Well,
on the
and we
deal.
don't know what they know.
Sure.
I mean, maybe there was some inside information that told them that this was happening.
But here's the thing about information, right? This is the thing about information. If somebody tells you something and you weren't there to see it,
yeah, you're getting secondhand information.
There you go.
You're getting their interpretation.
Right. So unless you actually physically saw something or lived it in real time, what you hear about what happened is going to get watered down. And do people have interests that they want to try to project maybe 80% of the truth and then withhold a very important 20%? Right? It's 80% correct.
Mm-hmm.
But that other 20% that like would change your opinion on the whole fucking thing is being left out intentionally.
Absolutely. That's why when you're the first person to hear a story and then you're number 20 down the line, that story all of a sudden is completely different because it's everybody's interpretation and things they want to leave out are left out.
Even if they're trying to be accurate, even if they're trying to like, well, this is what this person said. There's going to be some level of degradation as time goes on. So again, we're all being propagandized. We've done an entire episode, and probably a couple of different episodes, because we're conspiracy theorists over here, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why we're conspiracy theorists most of the time is just because as you age, you realize, man, people are fucking lying, and they've been lying for a long time. And you're either a non-player character that's just going to take the jab and to believe everything that the government tells you about, even though you can see like, that just doesn't like make any sense, man.
Yeah. Because
you said this 3 years ago, and now you're saying something completely contrary to that and expecting me to believe it. So that's kind of where I'm going on this thing. And
but then on the other hand, you could say that that's really what that person meant, but these issues came up and needed to be tackled first. Mm-hmm. We don't know that. We have no idea if that's the case.
Sure.
Chances are no, but
yeah, sure. So do you know what a narcissist is, Rebecca?
I'm not going to say 100%, but I believe it's a person who is very into themselves and they're the most important and they want everybody else to believe that they've got the truth and are great and wonderful and are going to do the best for you.
Yeah, there's I think you're pretty close to what I would say the definition is, or clinical definition. I've heard a lot of people saying that, Trump's this narcissist. And, they're going to say a lot of things about our president, Donald Trump, right? They've said that for years. And those of us who have supported him and voted for him and kind of saw how he's been treated throughout his entire first term and then his time out of office, what was done to him. We could kind of see what was going on there. Like, this isn't right. Our government shouldn't be using their power in this way. And the media shouldn't be targeting this person and doing all this stuff. Now, does that necessarily, because they were doing these things, does that take away from the fact that he could potentially be this narcissist? They're making these claims, right? Donald Trump's a narcissist. Well, they also said that Donald Trump was a Russian fucking spy, or he was an asset of Russia. Well, that was proven to be a lie. That doesn't necessarily mean that other things that they say about him aren't true. But this is something that I think a lot of us maybe wanted to not believe or defend or what have you for a long time. But I started thinking, man, I'm like going, the more that I kind of see how he's conducted himself, at least in this first year of his second term, I'm kind of going, man, this dude is kind of seeming a little narcissistic-y, right? Some of the tendencies. And so I thought, well, in order to do this justice, I should probably look up to see what a narcissist actually is. And so I looked it up on just asking Grok the question, because, Grok knows all, apparently.
I know. She's going to start taking my place there pretty soon. I hear you having a conversation with her all the time.
Is that what you want?
No.
Oh, you think that's going to happen?
Absolutely not. But I hear you in here cracking up, laughing. And
I don't have to be talking to Grok for me to be talking to myself. I talk to myself all the time.
Oh, I know.
Right? Right?
I know. I have to look over my shoulder and try to decide, are you talking to me or are you talking to yourself?
Well,
and usually you're facing somewhere else and I come to the realization you're talking to yourself.
This isn't a new revelation, right? We've been married for 37 years. This isn't a new revelation.
But I still don't know. Yeah. Do I need to respond to this or just, shrug it off? And that's how I determine. I look and see which way your face is pointing. And if it's pointing towards the tree or what have you, then I realize that, no, you're not talking to me.
Right. Yeah. So I guess to look at this objectively in some form or fashion, I rather than asking, is Donald Trump a narcissist or whatever, that wouldn't give me the answer I'm looking for. And I don't even know if I'm looking for an answer. I'm just wanting to know, because Donald Trump is somebody who typically surrounds himself with very loyal people. And I think that most leaders do. Right. Mm-hmm. Most leaders wouldn't want disloyal people around them. However, if all you ever do is put people around you that are just going to tell you what you want to hear and kiss your ass, then that's really the worst thing that you could possibly do, because it just increases your own self-importance and, just like, you know what I'm saying? If everybody's always just telling you, oh, you're the fucking greatest thing since sliced bread, you can do no wrong, and if you happen to say anything and that person attacks you for it, I don't know what that's probably not the best personality trait to have. Right. Mm-hmm. Would you not agree?
I would agree, because you need to hear, or you need to see both sides of the coin. Put it that way.
I think in order to kind of balance things out, if all you ever hear is how great you are, then you're just going to be self-absorbed and completely, thinking about yourself and your own self-image all the time. So I asked the question of Grok. I said, what type of person only surrounds themselves with people who are loyal to them? And this is what it came up with, just briefly. It says, people who deliberately surround themselves with only loyal individuals, often excluding those who might challenge, criticize, or disagree with them, tend to exhibit certain personality traits or behavioral patterns. Here's a breakdown of the most fitting archetypes drawn from psychological and sociological insights. Number 1, narcissists. Key traits. And just see if any of this sounds a little bit like our president. And you could not just pick it on President Trump. This could be Obama. This could be any leader, any person in this position. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's not just specifically on Trump, but just from the standpoint of key traits of an individual that's a narcissist. They crave admiration and validation, often viewing themselves as superior. They build echo chambers of loyal followers, sometimes called yes men or sycophants, to reinforce their ego and avoid any threats to their self-image. Dissent is seen as betrayal, leading to swift exclusion or punishment. Wonder how Elon thinks about that. Or anybody else that Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody that doesn't go along with, this is the party line, this is what I demand of you, you're going to be exiled. You were my friend yesterday when you said nice things, which would draw the question, were you really my friend if you can turn your back on me and treat me this way because I have a disagreement on policy or how things should be done, or I don't say what you want me to say. Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you go down the list of people that have come across Donald Trump just yesterday or whatever it was when he had all those oil executives in the Oval Office or wherever they were at in the White House. And he was asking them to speak about the investments that they're willing to make. And the guy from ExxonMobil, I guess he got up and he basically said, hey, well, look, we've been there since 1940. We've had infrastructure there. However, because of that instability of that region, we've been kicked out twice. And moving forward, we need a little bit more of a stable type of a arrangement. And so at this point in time, things to us, and I'm speaking on behalf of my shareholders, it's uninvestable to ExxonMobil. However, we're willing to work with the Trump administration moving forward because we have confidence that you'll be able to get your, shit in order, basically. And then so what does Trump say? Like the very next day when they asked him about that.
Oh, yeah, that they don't need him.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's a lot of people that want to come in, and I wasn't really happy about what he said. And basically, I don't think we'll be doing any business with ExxonMobil, the biggest oil company in the world.
However, he said that, but I don't know if he 100% means that. If, in fact, things go smoothly.
So you're reading into what was said?
I am reading into.
Because you want that? Or you just...
No, I'm just saying that that's a possibility.
Of course it is.
That then all of a sudden, Exxon sees that things are going smoothly.
Okay.
And they make contact.
Just like Elon right now has come back to the administration.
But I don't ever think that there was as big of a rift between him and Elon. And I can't back that up. I don't know why.
It's just a gut feeling you have. Yeah, it's a gut feeling.
It's just a gut feeling that I've had. Now with Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think that's definite.
Yeah, but
that's a definite.
That doesn't really matter. I mean, what I'm saying is what is basically he's saying and doing to people. You either fall in line, and if you don't, I'm going to cut you loose, regardless of all the nice things that I said about you yesterday. And so what I'm saying is that aligns with this loyalty only type of a thing, right? So anyhow, authoritarians or control-oriented leaders, key traits. These individuals prioritize power and hierarchy, often in political, corporate, or cult-like settings. They demand unwavering loyalty to maintain authority and suppress opposition, viewing independent thinkers as risks.
Yes, but if you have people working for you, you want them to be loyal.
You do, but that doesn't mean that if they have disagreement with you, then you can't continue to have those people around. A perfect example is, let's say on the podcast, Patrick Bet-David. He's got people that disagree with him on that panel. They've had literal fights on the thing. Now, Patrick,
I've seen him.
Patrick wins because he's the boss and he'll shit can the guys if they don't, but he's not disrespectful in it. Trump would not put up with that. He would not be challenged in that way. And so that's the difference here. You expect loyalty to the people that are working with you, but that doesn't mean that they can't challenge you. And Trump's not going to be challenged. That's just the type of person he is. So that's what I'm saying. There's a difference there, right? If I had a business, I would expect loyalty of my employees as well. But that doesn't mean that,
And if they weren't loyal to you?
It depends on what the breach of loyalty it is, quite honestly, right? If it has to do with the business moving forward, then they got to go. If they're burdensome to the business, if it means they disagree with me on something, that I'm willing to sit down and go, okay, I understand that, right? And I disagree. I'm going to move forward, but that doesn't mean I'm going to cut you loose and cut your throat. But let's see here. I don't think that one really applies to Trump. It's insecure or paranoid individuals. I don't really think he's paranoid. The number 4 one is sociopaths and those with antisocial personality disorder. Key traits: lack of empathy, manipulative tendencies, and a focus on self-interest. They use loyalty as a currency, rewarding it with favors while discarding anyone who doesn't serve their agenda. I mean, pick your person. It's just how he is, you know. And again, I guess in order to get to that place in life where you are the alpha in the room, like Trump is, no matter what room he's in with whoever in the entire world, he's got to be the alpha, which that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I want that in a president. I want an alpha, right? But that's just the type of person he is. And I'm not saying that Putin isn't that way. I'm not saying that Xi isn't that way. All of these people get to that level of ascendancy by being these type of people, right? So I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. We want some of that in our leaders. I'm just wondering about how it's being administered now. That gives me a little cause for concern is all.
Yes. And again, once the cameras are off, we don't know what discussions are going on. I mean, they might escalate and be even worse, or things might have smooth. Hey, maybe I shouldn't have said that. I'm really sorry. Are you in, you know?
Yeah.
I doubt that. I doubt that. But but it is a possibility.
Of course. There's a lot of possibilities that we could just go down the road on, even though what we see doesn't really lend us to believe that that's a possibility, right? We can make all kinds of things up in our head, like, well, maybe, you know, maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump are really friends.
No, I don't think they are.
But,
I get a very distinct feeling.
There's a possibility because behind the scenes, we don't, you know what I'm saying? So we can read into all kinds of stuff. I'm just saying from what I see, the optics lend me to believe this about him. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just trying to be objective as I possibly can in my assessment of the guy I voted for, right? I don't want to just be this person that's wearing a fucking red hat going, oh, Trump's doing all the shit that I voted for. This is great. I'm 100% happy with, because he's on my team, Team Trump. I don't want to be that guy because I'm not that guy. I look at people and judge them for what they do and measure that against or what they say and then what they deliver on. And that's all I'm trying to do here is just be objective as I possibly can be without making assumptions about, well, it could be this, because I mean, really, that's all we all can do if we're gonna think one way or the other on any of it, right? Do we want to believe this, or do we want to believe that?
Well, I don't know. You could look at it this way also. If he makes amends with maybe those people because of finances, because that particular person has the finances to help.
Of course. It's all related to money. What do you think?
Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
Everything that we're talking about in the world, it's all related to that power currency that.
No, I know, but I'm saying, let's use Exxon. He said, I seriously doubt. However, that particular guy's got a lot of shareholders and a lot of, so maybe I need to backtrack and take advantage.
Well, if that's what's in the interest of his shareholders, that's what he's going to do. I mean, that's what he said. Wouldn't you expect that to be a reasonable response instead of just being like coming out there and, oh, the president wants us to do invest $100 billion into this failing infrastructure with no real security like things moving forward. And then we just go ahead and do it. Oh, yes, Mr. President. Yes, we're going to do this. Well, what do you think Trump's going to do? He's going to be gone in 4 years, if not sooner.
True.
So what's going to be left for these institutions that have made a commitment in a region that has been very volatile? So it's, is it America first to do that? That's the question we can ask. Some people are saying, oh, yeah, sure it is, because China and Russia were coming in. Well, we don't know that.
We don't know that. And we don't know, well, I would have to speak for myself. I don't know exactly what it is that his plans are. As you said, the midterms are coming up. How much can he accomplish before that? Is he going to be able to get everything smoothed out and running great and pleasing the people that who were on his side now are back on that side without doubt or with very little doubt.
Is that what you're hoping? That's what I'm hoping.
Well, yes,
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that things get back on track. And, because that's why we're sitting here talking about this, because I do have concerns about the direction that things are going. And, that's fine. I can have concerns. They don't mean shit to anybody but me. Right. Just like everybody else can have an opinion on it as well. And so only history and time will tell about how all this stuff's going to work out.
So anyway, my point being is that if he's able to be able to get everything back on track and people are back on the Trump train, as they say, come midterms.
Woo-hoo. Are you back on the train? Jesus, man.
So then, of course, that's going to affect the voting. And possibly,
of course,
affect who would be elected as president after Trump.
Oh, are we already talking about the next election? I thought we were talking about Trump.
No, I'm just saying that this all lines up.
Sure.
So, if in fact it stays a Republican, it's possible that the things that he put in place may stay in place. Not all.
Here's what I'm going to say right off the bat. Before we even get to talking about how Trump did on his next, we're going to assess at least what we think are good and what we think are things that maybe weren't so good in the first year, because I'm not going to sit here and say it's all good and it's all bad. This is an objective look from my perspective, from your perspective on how our candidate that we voted for did. Right. And I think as Americans, it's great that we can do that. It's great that we can sit down here and have this sort of conversation that other people might listen to, because I really do believe that in other countries, well, it's not that I believe, I know in other countries, this isn't permitted, but I believe that at some point in this country, this won't be permitted.
You are probably right.
I think that I'm 100% right, because this is the problem. Is when people start talking like we're talking, other people can hear that. And they don't really want dissenting voices, I don't think. I think they really, that's why they're putting out their message of the propaganda. Oh, things are great. The economy's this and this is this, and we're winning and blah, blah, blah. That's why all that propaganda comes out on a base, it's to influence you and how you view things are happening.
Well, for me right now, those are just words. I have to physically see things happen.
Sure. And that's where I think a lot of Americans are when they're talking about like how the economy's doing. You can come out and say, oh, well, GDP is this and, the deficit is blah, blah, blah. We brought all this extra money in because of tariffs and all this other bullshit, which may in fact be true. But the bottom line is it better at the gas pumps? Is it better at is your paycheck better? Are you able to buy more groceries? The cost of everything's going up. Inflation's still a real problem for this administration. So that's the measuring stick that most people look through. How does it benefit them? And there's nothing wrong with that. We should all be looking at things for our own interest. Was that a good idea that I voted for this person? Did it work out? Right. So that's kind of where I'm at on it. So I guess getting back to this whole narcissistic tendency thing. I have a quote that aligns with that.
Okay.
And it goes like this: he who falls in love with himself will have no rivals. What do you think of that one?
Well, I would say that it's true, because you're going to surround yourself with people who absolutely love you, who are going to feed you that. You will have no rivals, because that is.
But if you fall in love with yourself, he who falls in love with himself will have no rivals. You're on the right track with what you're saying.
I'm just saying that you're not going to hear the negative, even if it's just you. You are going to listen to a conversation and black out any negativity and only hear the positive.
Yeah. You know who said that?
No.
Benjamin Franklin.
I would have never guessed it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of wisdom in those founders, right? And I've often wondered how they would view the country today and what they would think about the experiment that they created. Because make no mistake about it, America's an experiment, just like every government, just like every society that's ever been put together. Ours is objectively probably the best that's ever been put together with the freedoms that we all enjoy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a fantastic opportunity that we all have, but make no mistake about it, it's evolving as we speak. Things are changing in society, most of which,
but with good, there's always going to be bad. So you're never going to eliminate that.
We can only anticipate what the future may bring, but it's just interesting how some people think that, we're always going to be on top. And I don't believe that. History doesn't show that. And so maybe that's what Trump's thinking. Maybe he's just thinking about, conquering as many pieces of real estate around the world as he can while he can. I truly think that he believes that he understands that the Republicans are probably going to lose bad in the next midterms this year.
And I think he somewhat voiced that.
He did. He said something to the effect of, you have to, what did he say? You have to get out and vote in the midterms, because if you don't, they're going to impeach me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Trump isn't a dummy when it comes to knowing what the polls are. He knows very well what the public perception and sentiment is. So it just kind of interests me, why would he go so far outside of what he ran upon and is moving in a particular direction that most people didn't expect? And he's aligning himself more so with the people who are a part of the establishment. That's an interesting thing. And I think it can only be because he might feel as though this is his only opportunity to get these things done, because after the midterms, it's probably going to be a bloodbath. I don't think that there's a lot of people, and I don't know this, I haven't spoken to a lot of people. I'm just getting a sense of where I feel the enthusiasm lies with my own feeling about everything that's been taking place. But I just think that he's kind of fucking putting his foot on the gas. Hey, we need to move on Venezuela. We're going to move on Greenland. We're going to move on anybody else. And we don't really give a shit about what anybody else thinks. We're the biggest dog in the world, and we're going to take our shot while we can. I really believe he's the type of person that just wants to put his stamp on history as being this person who like the Don Roe Doctrine or something. He wants shit named after him, right? He likes putting his name on buildings and planes, and he's a person that likes to brand himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks very highly of himself, which again, it's what we voted for, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just think he's taken it to the next level at this point. And I think it's rubbing a lot of people probably the wrong way, not sending the best message. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he's going about things in the
right now? I would say that yes, he's rubbing people the wrong way.
Is he rubbing you the wrong way? Not because you're just making the assumption about what other people feel. What do you feel?
I'm not thrilled. I would have to say I'm not thrilled. But I also don't have, nor does anybody else, have all of the information as to what is going on. From the people who are around him when he makes speeches, it leads him to believe that he's aligning himself with the wrong people who are feeding him the wrong information.
Yes, men.
Yeah.
Telling him what he wants to hear. I think he's demanded that from the start, but again, he's that's 180 degrees, man, from no new wars. I'm the only president who hasn't started a war. No more foreign intervention, no more foreign aid. All of this stuff that he said but he's not delivering on any of that. So that's a big switch. And it's a big departure for me on how I feel about supporting him and, quite honestly, the party in the future. It's made me disinterested, let me just say. Right?
Mm-hmm.
See, but that's what they're counting on, is that you have no other choices. You either vote for left or right, red or blue, Coke or Pepsi. That's what they're voting on. That's why they're, again, like I said last time we got on, nothing wrong with being silver. Right?
Yeah. However,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't put your vote out there and what would it have been like if Trump wasn't in office?
Well, as I said last time, I'm actually happy about my vote from last time. I think my vote was necessary in order to bring this country back to a different direction. Now, is that different direction going too far? Again, we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. It may turn out to be great. You know, Venezuela may be the Riviera of South America. You know, there may be hotels and all kinds of shit on the beach with all the development that Trump's going to bring into that area, and they're going to be very, very happy down there in Venezuela as a democratically elected government that we choose, because now they're under our control. And what happens in Venezuela is going to be largely looked at through the lens of, this is something that Trump wanted. And if it works out good, Trump will be viewed as like, hey, this was a great idea, man. This guy was the next fucking Winston Churchill. But if it doesn't, I guess we'll again, time will tell. But so let's look at it, Rebecca, from the standpoint of, we made a lot of pronouncements here, but there are things that Trump has done that I definitely support. He made a lot of claims coming into office about what he was going to do and what people voted for.
Mm-hmm.
So from the standpoint of border security, I would say that Trump has done an exemplary job. I've been very happy with the fact that he's come in and he shut down the entry into this country.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a fantastic thing that really shouldn't have to be applauded. We shouldn't have to applaud our president when they shut down immigration into this country. But that just goes to show how bad it's been for so many years, where you can't even speak about it. And even if you do, if you're a Republican, you're going to get lambasted by the other side as you're anti-immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing about Trump is he doesn't really give a fuck what the media says.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a good thing, because our media has been so discredited in this country, so much to the point where they've been caught in their own lies, and they know it. They know that they're a dying institution and nobody really trusts what they say. There's some boomers that trust them. But as far as the new generation coming up, I don't think the Gen Xers, the Gen Z, and even the millennials to some extent are going to be doing a lot of watching the news on CBS Evening News. They're not going there for their information. And so they've discredited themselves in that regard. So him going after them, I think, has actually been a really good thing. Where it bothers me about Trump is that he goes after people that it's not really warranted, in my opinion. I just think that a lot of his attacks are kind of mean-spirited. And not even so much to the point where it's like, hey, you're the president, you shouldn't be doing that. It's beneath the office to do that. It's just beneath fucking human dignity, right? Mm-hmm. To go after a guy that just got murdered by his fucking son. I talked about that last time. I don't want to talk about it anymore. But just shit like going after the reporter, calling her Piggy. What was that shit about? Was it funny? Yeah, maybe some people thought it was funny, but come on, man. Like, what is that shit?
Yeah, that's not appropriate. Regardless of what she said or didn't say, it's not appropriate.
Yeah, he's quite the guy as it goes to that. But again, to Trump's credit, good border security. I would say another thing that he's done that's been very positive that shouldn't have to be done, but it actually is done because we have so many people who are intent on creating a society that doesn't have law and order. We have a lot of democratically run cities around the country where lawlessness is actually not only not dealt with, it's kind of like encouraged, right? So he's done good as it relates to crime and public safety. I want our public officials to give the support needed for law enforcement, because as much as maybe you don't like some of the things that law enforcement currently might be doing in the country, by overreacting, there needs to be an understanding that if you get out of line, you're going to be dealt with. And so he's sent National Guard into, he sent resources into these places, Chicago and Portland and all these democratically, held areas. And I think that's a good thing. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think that those are places. Actually, we live in a state that needs to have a little more law and order here. And in particular, certain cities are worse than others. So I think that is a good move on Trump's.
Yeah. Right.
And yes, everybody's going to make mistakes. That is human nature. As far as law and order. Well,
people are always going to advantage themselves. You're never going to get away with this. I'm not going to say all people do this. Well, I will say that. Actually, all people act in their own best interest in some way or another. Right? But that doesn't mean you need to take advantage of others. But there's going to be people in society that want to take advantage of others. And so you need to have some form of punishment for that. You need to have some people that are going to enforce that. And so I am in support of law enforcement. I mean, that's just common sense, right? That's just common sense.
I don't like the I don't like the limit of how much you can steal from a store before an officer can be called.
Well, that's a stupid law, and that means you live in a stupid state like California.
Yes.
Why haven't you left yet?
You can steal up to $950.
They changed that, but by the way.
Did they change that?
Yeah, they changed it, by the way. But nonetheless, why are you still in California? Quit your bitching.
Because
you should move.
Because my children and my grandchildren are here. Okay. And if they would up and move with me, I would leave in a heartbeat.
But yeah, well, same, I guess. Another thing that he's done that I think is positive and worth mentioning is that this country was going in the wrong direction as it related to social and cultural issues. So coming in and just kind of like making it more based on merit rather than, we need to hire this many Indians, or we need to hire this many blacks, or this many, Scandinavians, or whatever the hell. Ending the DEI initiatives and things like that. I think that's all really good. Along with all the climate bullshit. I mean, that's just another way to grift money and to manipulate people into thinking that there's this emergency that they give a shit about, that they're going to do something about. And so by coming in and kind of restoring some normalcy there, I think that was a good thing. I mean, I know it was a good thing for me. I don't know about other people, what they think. I mean, there's people that disagree with that, but I think it was a great thing. But I also think it's not something that we should have had to applaud by a president doing that. That's just their job. That's what they should do.
Okay. So are you referring to all of it or the climate change thing?
I'm referring to climate change as well as DEI.
Okay, I agree with that. I mean, if you're going to go and you're going to employ, you should want the best employee, not just because, hey, this person's got curly hair and it's red. All right, I need one of those.
But see, the government is inefficient, right? They're inefficient, and it's like they can just hide people that are ineffective in their job. So it's easy just to say, well, we want quotas of these types of people because That's the most important thing. Not finding qualified airline pilots, but rather, people that have different chromosomes based on whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a great thing.
And then as far as the climate change, from the very beginning, we've had climate change. We are constantly shifting and moving, and
well, isn't that common sense?
It's just straight out common sense. Why is this all of a sudden, hey, we got more rain this year than we did last year? It's climate change.
Yeah. For anybody that like has an IQ above 75, that should be pretty self-evident.
Mm-hmm.
But it's easy to when people say, oh, well, we're having all these wildfires because of climate change. We're having these problems because of climate change. And, again, these are the same people that don't look at the history and realize that it used to be called global warming.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, oh, well, shit, it's actually cooling down. So we need to just call it climate change, because that's what the fucking climate does. It ebbs and flows over a period of a number of years. But they have the solution,
mm-hmm.
right? So I don't know. It's I don't want to get on that tangent, but I do think that he's done some good things as it relates to that, and that actually kind of aligns with the energy policies that he's put in place. I think are probably moving in the right direction. Releasing some regulatory burdens that have been put in place by the previous administration, by allowing more offshore drilling and allowing exploration for energy, which is hugely necessary in order for us to advance and to maintain our dominance throughout the world. Energy is a big thing. And of course, that aligns with what Trump is doing now by trying to he's taken the oil supply in Venezuela. Now, you can argue whether or not that's a good idea or not. People are arguing about that all day long. And I'll stick to the fact that I don't know if it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to make a judgment on that. It might be in our interest, but again, we'll just have to wait and see. Right.
I agree. I think that we need to see how it's all going to pan out. I mean, it might have, who knows? Russia or China might have actually been moving in to take that and getting closer,
right,
and putting us more in harm's way. But again, we'll have to wait and see how everything pans out.
Right. Now, how it took place, I do have some issue with that. Again, my issue doesn't really matter. It happened. We all can have issues about shit that doesn't matter, but I'm just making I'm questioning it in this way because, I've heard them make the argument that Maduro wasn't even legitimately elected because of the way he rigged the election and all of that sort of shit. And he's been in power for whatever number of years, 15 or 25 years or whatever it is. Right. Okay, that's cool, man. But if you want to apply that logic to other countries, there's a lot of countries where dudes have rigged the elections. Putin's rigged the election. Xi has rigged the election. And so what are we going to do next? Are we going to go in and say, well, you violated drug laws because you've been doing these things and we're indicting you and we're going to fucking swoop in with our Delta Force and kidnap you? So that would actually be, if you want to put the shoe on the other foot, that would be another country, let's say China, that was more militarily savvy than us, that had more resources and was the dominant superpower in the world. That'd be like them saying during the last election cycle where Biden basically stole the election, which he did.
Mm-hmm.
That would be like them saying, we don't recognize him. He fucking stole that election. We side with MAGA on that. And so therefore we're going to swoop in the middle of the fucking night, kill about, 40, 50 people of Biden's security detail and swoop his ass up out of the White House, fly him back to our country. And then he's going to be held trial. But yet we're going to maintain we'll put in Kamala Harris. She'll be the newly installed president at this point. We're going to oversee all the act. You know what I'm saying? So that's the other side to the thing. And it's just like, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You see the parallel there?
I do.
But there's people that are saying, oh, fuck around and find out. Oh, this is a great thing. How do you know it's a great thing? Is it really? I mean, maybe it is. Right?
We're the outsiders.
Oh, I don't know if we're the outsiders. I just think that, I don't care who it is. I don't care if you're the guy I voted for, the guy I didn't vote for. I'm going to judge you based on what you do. You can say a lot of shit, which is what politicians do. They say a lot of shit. The only difference is I thought this time was going to be a little different. I actually believed some of the things that Trump was saying. And that's, I think, the biggest disappointment that I have, maybe in my own self for believing it, right? Because I am like Charlie Brown getting the fucking football pulled out from Lucy. Mm-hmm. Trump is Lucy, and I'm Charlie Brown running up to kick the football. And he's like, fucking yoink. That's the way I feel right now. And it's not like I'm losing sleep over it. It's just kind of something I've been analyzing, thinking about this first year of Trump's presidency. There's good. And then there's stuff that I go, wait a fucking minute, dude, well, you're full of shit, man. So.
Yeah, there's good. It's not he did run on some of the stuff. I would say it's not the top priority of what people were looking for. Mm-hmm. And those things he hasn't necessarily touched upon.
Well, you're saying people like you're speaking for others.
I am speaking for everyone.
Well, why don't you speak for yourself and tell me what you think? Is that what is he delivering on those? Right.
Okay. So let's just touch upon it. He hasn't said anything about the Epstein files and seems to be kind of fighting against.
Well, we'll get to that.
All right.
We'll get to that.
Well, then
and let's get to the failed to deliver category. This is what I think he's really kind of failed to deliver on thus far. And the economy and the inflation is something that he said, he was going to turn around. And we were expected to see that turnaround in pretty short order based on what he was saying on the stump. Now, I know that people say a lot of things, presidents make all these promises. And part of Trump's problem is he like overpromised on a lot of shit, right? Mm-hmm. No new taxes, cutting no Social Security tax and no tax on tips and all this other stuff that he said he was going to deliver on, which it didn't really come to pass. So as far as the economy and the inflation numbers and all of that stuff, it's still kind of in limbo. Some things regarding what he said he was able to deliver on. A lot of the other things that are still out to like lunch on. Okay, so the bottom line on this, the way that I see it is, how do we feel about what we see? Is the gas price significantly lower? Is the inflation coming down? Is there more shit that's going into your grocery basket? Right? Or is there more money? Does it cost you more money to put grocery in the bags? That's really where, for the average American, I think, is the money that they make buying more stuff. And I would say that it's probably not. There's that hasn't really moved a lot. Now, will it by the end of his term? Well, we'll see. Could.
Right. I'd have to say that I don't think that things have gone up tremendously. So I would say that probably closer to maintaining. There's obviously, and I don't know if this is Trump's doing or just total marketing for stores, things that people tend to gravitate more towards. Those things kind of go up an extra 10 cents or what have you, while other things stayed the same.
Yeah, I think that I haven't seen anything dramatically change in that regard, right? And I don't know if you have really. Have you?
No. I would say that they're just, for the most part, they're maintaining.
Yeah, I would say that's probably a pretty, I have a similar assessment on that. One of the things I was very, very excited about, I guess, initially was this idea that he was going to be cutting out waste, fraud, and abuse from the government. And, with the newly created Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk running that, there seemed to be this relationship that was developing that was going to prove to be something that was very popular, not only with you and I, but with the country as a whole. I think that most people, regardless of party, are pretty good with this, unless you're somebody who's grifting some of those resources, which that's really what the whole intent of the fluidity of these funds are there to do. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was probably one of the things that first gave me like a real big disappointment, aside from saying he's going to create the Riviera of the Mediterranean over there in Gaza and put hotels and shit on the beach. And I was like, what is that? But then right about that time, within the first couple of months, Elon was ousted, and it was shown to be that, the swamp was really starting to rebel against this idea that the money that they are like actually legally entrusted to manage on the behalf of the people, they weren't interested in cutting any of the waste, fraud, and abuse. And the fact that they haven't to this point like codified any of those cuts through legislation in a meaningful way is a fucking huge disappointment from my standpoint. That's what I voted Trump for, mm-hmm. was draining the swamp. Mm-hmm. The fact that he just says jack shit about draining the swamp now, to me, shows that he's a failure. He's failed. He's failed on that mission. He's given up on that mission of draining the swamp. He doesn't care anything about that. And I should have had a sense that it wasn't going to be a priority of his, but I wanted to believe that it was. So I drank the Kool-Aid. I wanted to believe that he was going to actually deliver on that. But one of the things that should have caused me some level of concern going in, or skepticism, was the fact that he never said anything about trying to reduce the national debt his entire first administration. Never said fucking one thing. Didn't say it when he was campaigning or anything. And I thought, what a huge campaign tool, even if he didn't mean it. Why did they never come out and say we're going to reduce the national debt? The national debt is out of fucking control. Mm-hmm. Right? So here's some numbers for you, just from the standpoint of economically with Trump. Now, given the fact that he's brought in some money from tariffs, he's brought in about, from what I saw, he's brought in about $300 billion from tariffs, mm-hmm. which is a lot of money. But that only brings the debt, not the national debt, but the debt, the budget deficit, I should say. It only brings it down like 0.3%. So we had a $2 trillion budget deficit, and it's now down to 1.7. So good on Trump. You reduced it by 0.3, right? Mm-hmm. $300 billion. But during his first year, the national debt has actually increased from what it was by $2.2 trillion. So just in 1 year, he's added $2.2 trillion. That's a fail. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yes, it would be nice to see the national debt go in the opposite direction.
Does it even matter? Or is it just numbers? Is it just numbers to get people talking about it? Or does it even matter? Or is at some point the wheel's going to come off the bus? I don't know how that works. I'm not an economist, but he's not concerned about it. I don't know if anybody else is concerned about it. Maybe it's nothing we should be concerned about at all. So long as we can just keep taking people's shit. Maybe if we just go in and take Greenland shit, none of it'll matter. Are you down with that?
I'm not. Like I said, it just seems like if you can just take care of what you have, That would be a starting point.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a country that already has plenty of problems. Let's fix these problems first before you start taking over other people's things.
That would be a good thing. I don't know if I'm against the Greenland thing. I mean, I was kind of like, Greenland. Yeah. What do they do? Nothing that I'm aware of. They got a lot of resources up there. Mm-hmm. And if we got like our adversaries, China and Russia up there fucking doing whatever they're doing. And I don't know that they are. It could just be more propaganda. They haven't come out and said, no, we're not doing that. They're pretty quiet about stuff. You ever notice how you don't see Putin or Xi? They're not tweeting every fucking 5 minutes talking about we're the best in the world by far. You ever notice that? Because if you're powerful and you're actually accomplished in doing shit, you don't need to tell people about it. That's the way I am. If you're doing good things, people notice that you're doing good things. If you're successful, people know that you're successful. You didn't need to keep telling people how successful you are. So are they up there in Greenland? I don't know. Maybe not. But I'm not completely sold that it's a bad idea or a good idea. I guess we're just going to sit here as Americans and we're going to get a chance to see what happens in the next 3 years as Trump continues to threaten everybody around the world. Like, well, Mexico, they better get their shit in order. We're going to come down there and put boots on the ground, start bombing them because they're bringing drugs into our country.
Well, they are bringing drugs into our country, but
you know what? Go ahead. I was going to get fired up as if I haven't been fired up already. Go ahead.
But that kind of talk, I agree with you. And even if you are going to take over somebody's because and again, they may have more information than what obviously we have. And they may be presenting more of a threat than maybe I understand. More than likely. Than all of us, of course. Yeah. I mean, we don't know shit. But it does seem like the smarter way to go about it is to keep your mouth shut and make your move. But if you're constantly talking about it, then they're expecting it, right?
Yeah.
So they can be on their defense at all times, waiting for it to happen. Now, maybe he's just bloviating and nothing happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, one of the failures I think is that's going to go down on Trump's resume is the fact that for the second time now, he's had the entire branches of government essentially kind of under his umbrella as the executive, and really hasn't done a lot this time to coalesce the forces. Now, I guess you could make the argument that because they haven't done anything to oppose him, right? You don't see Mike Johnson and John Thune saying jack shit right now with regard to what's going on in all of his executive moves. Well, not like saying, hey, you need to come to us to be able to spend this kind of money or anything like that. He's not getting any pushback. So to counter my argument that Trump hasn't coalesced the party, that would be the argument, is that they're just kind of sitting along the sidelines and letting him do his thing. Mm-hmm. Whether that means they're not putting their fingerprints on shit that he's doing so that they're not like, hey, we were the ones saying go do these things, which is kind of what I think they're doing. Because when Trump becomes a lame duck and or he becomes weakened to the point where the party and everybody around him realizes that he's kind of become toxic, they're going to turn their back on him just like they did on January 6th.
Right. Well, right? I was going to say even
remember how quick,
even for the election, there are so many people that turn their back on him, and that's
a whole January 6th thing. That's what the January 6th was about, was the election.
That quite possibly is the direction they're going in.
What did Lindsey Graham do when the January 6th thing came up? How quick did he turn on Trump? How quick, you know what I'm saying?
Right, in a hot second.
Yeah, these people were just kind of sitting along the sidelines, waiting for something to happen. And then when they saw an advantage to disengage from like him because he was no longer no longer going to have any power. They fucking flipped on him just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think one of his failures is just the fact that he hasn't been able to coalesce his party into getting any meaningful reforms done. Because really the only meaningful reforms has been his big, beautiful bill. That's been a signature legislative accomplishment, along with Lake and Riley, which is kind of like, okay, whatever. That's a feel-good piece of legislation. There's been a few continuing resolutions to keep the government running, right? They've had to vote on that shit, which they always do, right? Mm-hmm. But those bills are always filled with a bunch of pork and bullshit like that, right? And then there's been a lot of not a lot, but there's been a number of regulatory bills that have been passed because rolling back a lot of the things that Biden had put in there regarding, regulations on offshore drilling and that sort of stuff, energy policy. And then there's been a couple of other little minor things that they've done, but nothing big, nothing to codify any of the waste, fraud, and abuse. Crazy, huh? Mm-hmm. But we're expected to just continually pay into the system and believe that it's our responsibility to go out next time and to support to put these people back in office when they haven't really done a fucking thing of what they said they were going to do, right? They're doing a little bit just to kind of like, hey, this is a reason why I need to keep showing up in Washington and you need to come and vote for me when I come back to my home district as your constituent, right? Mm-hmm. I put a little piece of pork in the bill for you, so therefore you need to continually vote for that. But yet while they're there with basically all the levers of power, they're not doing anything that most people want them to do, which is to like clean up Washington. It's a mess, right?
Yes.
And Trump hasn't done any of that, but he ran on that. That was his thing. Drain the swamp.
Yes.
And who's he aligning himself with now?
With the swamp.
With Lindsey Graham.
Who is the swamp part of it?
Well, all of them are.
Yeah.
They've been there for how long? So it's just, I don't know. It's a big disappointment to me, right? Mm-hmm. Should I not feel disappointed, or should I have these questions in my head about like, how is he doing?
I would say that you should feel disappointed. Now, as far as giving him a grade, I would not give him an F, but he is slipping down to like the D area for me.
Yeah, I would say for me, that's what I would give him for a final grade at this point, his first year, just because of, even though there's been things that he's done that I certainly, I think, that's cool, man. Like that's what you should be doing. And I support that. I just think that, particularly as of late, how he's kind of about the way he's conducting himself. He just doesn't give a damn. He doesn't care who he pisses off. He thinks he's the best person in the room wherever he goes, and nobody can question anything he says or does. And if you deviate from that, he's going to show you how much power he has. And I think that's somebody, again, who aligns with a person that has a personality disorder.
Okay, so do you think that he actually in his heart believes that he is the best? Or do you think that the reason why he's got to constantly tell you is to reinforce himself?
I think it's almost kind of like one and the same. I think he thinks very highly of himself, and really always has. And it's kind of almost hard not to, because of who he's been able to have contact with, and just his whole thing, man.
But you don't think that he could actually have some doubts in himself, and that's why he's got to hear it from other people?
Yeah, I think that's part of being a narcissist. You need that positive reinforcement all the time. You need to hear, so therefore you're going to just, because you have the power to do so, you're going to surround yourself with people who do that. That's the whole point of the thing. I think there has to be doubts. Everybody has to have doubts in what you're doing. I'm sure he wasn't completely certain of the outcome while he was sitting there watching the operation of Maduro's capture, but yet he has had a bunch of people that he's aligned himself with that are telling him, oh yeah, this is going to work out. You've got this, man. This will go down as being whatever. and he's believing that. It's gonna be interesting to see how history judges him. It's going to be interesting to see how the next few years go for the Trump administration and this country, quite honestly, because it's like, I mean, anything could happen right now, the way he's fucking going about business. He's like a bull in a china closet, right?
I think that he actually could be making these threats to other places. And we're seeing it and we're judging it the way we're judging it, but possibly behind scenes, he's able to, and again, I know this drives you crazy.
Yeah, you must be like QAnon or something. You don't know what's going on any more than I do. All I'm saying is he's making the threats. So,
but they have physically said that there's talks about making an arrangement. So that's kind of been tossed out there.
Okay.
So he's making these threats, but you kind of hear that. So, I mean, what way do you go? Do you think
well, they're not empty threats. He's backing up the threats. That's the point. He's not like saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this."
But he hasn't always. He's made threats out there and then nothing's happened.
Well, that doesn't mean that all of the threats get followed through on, but some of them do. And the ones that do are usually the countries that don't have the ability to fucking fight back, like militarily. He's not going to go in there and kidnap the president of fucking China because he wasn't duly elected, or there's some international law that needs to be enforced. Right? He's blowing up the whole fucking thing right now.
Okay, so
and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. NATO is going to be like, hey, we ain't paying into that. One of the good things Trump does, and this is another one of those things that he's done, he's made those other countries pay what they're supposed to pay in this North American treaty.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the whole reason that thing was put together was to fight off the Soviet Union and their aggression in Europe. That was the whole point of the thing. And it's been this ongoing thing that they're supposed to pay 2% of their GDP, yet none of them really were doing that. And Trump's actually got them to do that. Do you know that we pay 62% of the entire monetary liability into NATO, and all the rest of the countries combined? The next closest one is Germany with 6%.
Mm-hmm.
So NATO is us. We are NATO. And so they want to throw this shit out there. He's going to blow it up. Is it a good thing that he's doing that? I don't know. Maybe it is.
So if we're providing military defense for these countries that do not have.
Yeah, they don't have a viable defense against the aggression of other.
Then why shouldn't they be part of the U.S.?
That's a good question. And so that goes to the question that you brought up a while ago. He started talking all this shit about Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 51st state. And we all thought that was kind of funny because it kind of was, mm-hmm. right? Whether he was serious about it, probably in some regards, yes, but not to the point where he's going to say, well, we're going to go in and take your shit regardless because Russia and China are close by. He hasn't said that, but he also, what he also hasn't said, and what you brought up, you haven't heard him say that about Israel, have you? Which is interesting since fucking Israel is the size of New Jersey with a population of about like 6 million people or whatever, 30 million, whatever they got. Mm-hmm. It's nothing compared to what we got. And what do they have to give us? Nothing. Essentially nothing. We don't get minerals from them. We don't get anything other than a strategic advantage for us to be able to say, well, they're a democracy over there. So that's why we're supporting what they're doing. It's just pretty interesting now. So that's always been the argument as to why we need to go into war and to do all these different interventions and overthrow and topple these governments. That's always been the argument that's been thrown out there. However, that wasn't really the argument with Maduro, because Trump came out and said what it's actually been about for a lot of reasons, for a lot of these things, is because we like using our weaponry, because we're the best in the world at it. And we need to show that flex. And by the way, we're taking all your shit. We're going to control that country now. That's an interesting departure from what we've been doing regarding foreign policy in this country for a while. Right? Is it really a departure, or is it just what Trump is being the most transparent president coming out and saying openly, where other people are like, ooh, did you just say that out loud? Huh. Bush said it the same way, but it was like weapons of mass destruction. It was a little bit different than right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's interesting. So your final grade is a D, right?
My final grade is a D. And you?
I would say I'm very similar to that. I mean, I want to acknowledge the good where the good exists. And I think that there is some good. There's definitely a lot of good, quite honestly. But it's just things aren't getting better with him. I think they're getting more belligerent and a little bit more assertive. And I think that goes back to what I said earlier about the belief that he's running out of time. And I think that's really quite the case. He realizes that. He's a smart man to the point where he knows politics at this point and knows what the poll numbers show. And he realizes, hey, I'm losing support. And, I mean, this could be part of it is just like, hey, I'm doing all this shit. Now you don't have to talk about Epstein, because that was starting to come to a head again. Right?
Yes. But do you think that, because I think this is kind of part of Bush's, it's his last term.
Bush?
Well, yes, Bush. So after his second term,
yeah,
he's in there, and what's it matter what he does? He can do a little of this, a little of that. It's going to be over with in 4 years. He can go on with his life and do something. Do you think that Trump is much the same way, or do you think he's still trying to move forward with things? Or is he looking at it? You know what? I got 3 more years. What's it matter what I do?
I don't think he's thinking of that at all. I think Trump's thinking about legacy. That's what I really think he's all about. Is doing as much shit as he can that he can put his stamp on. Now, maybe in his heart, he's been convinced that all of these moves are going to benefit the United States long term. And I think that he probably does believe that. I think he believes that taking and securing Greenland as real estate, Venezuela, it just is going to make things better moving into the future. Maybe that secures our democracy for the next 50 years instead of having it, only last another 25. Mm-hmm. If we allow China, which they've risen to become an economic superpower in a very short period of time, but that's been because of our own stupidity in this country by our leaders allowing that to happen, by incentivizing them in the way that we have for them to gain that leverage, right? They were like a collapsing collapsing nation not very long ago. And so I don't know, it's just interesting. Maybe what he's doing is actually in everybody's best interest, but the way he's going about doing it doesn't really appear that way, because people are looking at, oh, well, this is the way it's been done in the past. And these guys didn't really say the things that they said or do the things that they're doing. But I guess we'll just wait to see, Mm-hmm. But anyhow, I think that's probably enough politic talk. What do you think? I've been just ranting over here about this thing, but it's been something that I've wanted to talk about because we've engaged in the political side of what's happening in the world, because it I guess affects everyone. Mm-hmm. And I think, propaganda is what propaganda is. And I find it fascinating how we all make assessments on what we think is going on, whether or not that's actually the case. And we're so certain in our pronouncements of what we're saying, right?
I can't say that I'm certain. I'm just trying to look at every aspect. And so I don't know. I'm somewhat neutral. Not a whole lot. I mean, because it is a possibility that what he's doing is the right thing.
Right.
He's a little rough around the edges. That could be smoothed off. He needs a little sandpaper.
Yeah.
Take off those rough edges. But maybe he is. I don't know. I can't.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why I think that's a good way to be, quite honestly, on all this sort of stuff, because it can become if you think about it too much, or you start taking a side too much, you dig in your heels, and then you're not willing to look at the other side and what arguments and things that they're presenting. Mm-hmm. Right. And you can pick any number of shows that I actually listen to from the standpoint of podcasters, where they're just all in like, oh, this is great. And this is this reason why, as if they know what they're talking about. And then you hear another podcast that's challenging some of the things that are going on. And then it kind of makes you go, well, you know, there's another side to things that maybe I didn't think about. So maybe I'll temper my pronouncements. But I do want to say one other thing here politically. I find it interesting about the Dan Bongino thing, about him coming back. And it's interesting to see how he's conducted himself since he's come back. Mm-hmm. And what I take from that, I haven't really heard anybody else say this or anything. This is just how I see it. Is the first I had heard about it, I caught a clip of Trump saying, oh yeah, he wants to come back. And I guess he's going to be leaving and going to his show. He wants to go back to his podcast or whatever. And it was just kind of like an off the cuff remark as press is asking him something as he's getting onto a helicopter. And then I started seeing, oh, Bongino's coming back or whatever. And so he came back onto Twitter, I think it was like last week, and he starts denouncing all of the people that are questioning, like, hey, where's the fucking Epstein files? Hey, where's all the deep state arrests? None of that is actually taking place. None of it. And really attacking those people, but yet promoting what Donald Trump is doing, and that basically saying something to the effect of, oh, all these people are just haters and doubters, and they, these are the people that we need to ostracize from our movement that we created. Well, the thing is he created the movement of all these doubters by the things that he was saying prior to going into the FBI. Mm-hmm. And so I think what happened is he reassured Trump when he told him, hey, I'm going to go back to my podcast, but I'm not going to say anything about, you don't have to worry. I'm not going to say anything about Epstein or any of that. And I'm going to promote all the good things that have been done in the department and that the administration is doing, because we need to keep the team together. And I think that's been the discussion between he and Trump, because he's coming out like, oh, I've been just going on his Twitter just to see the drama between all the people that are talking shit on the guy, telling him, he's deep state Dan and he hasn't done this or that. And he's basically blocking everybody who's a dissenter. All the people that have disagreement with him, he's blocking them, but he's posting and reposting all this administration propaganda that, hey, Donald, it's such and such day. It's Monday, January, whatever. Donald Trump is your president. And it's like, what are you doing, man? Don't you think we know who the fucking president is? Who is that for? Right? Now, this is a guy who specifically was put into the administration, at least we were all led to believe, to do some of the things that you talked about for years. That was your sole purpose, man. Kash Patel, same thing. That was the sole reason, because of all the shit you talked about Epstein and all of this sort of thing. Pam Bondi, everybody was excited about that. Or I don't know if I was.
I wasn't,
because I didn't really know anything about her. I just thought, okay, that Matt Gaetz didn't get in, whatever. I mean, here's this Pam Bondi chick. And so I didn't really, whatever. She's probably going to be good. Let me tell you, these people have turned out to be like the biggest disappointment to me. And I know millions of other people. I know millions of other people have been like, what the fuck have you done? And now this guy's coming out denouncing all the people that he helped to like incentivize into this conspiracy mindset. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's just very interesting to see that there again, the deep state wins. Yes. Yesterday, the Clintons were supposed to, they were subpoenaed to show up. Guess what? We don't have to fucking show up. We're the Clintons.
Well, maybe in the middle of the night, they're going to be snatched up out of their house.
I was thinking that while I was pouring my hollow roast this morning. I was pouring Rebecca and I a cup of hollow roast coffee right here. And I was actually thinking about that. I was thinking, you know what? Why don't they do that? If they were serious about any of this shit they've been talking mad crap about, draining the swamp and all this other stuff, or, hey, this guy isn't duly elected or whatever, right? They have the power to do that. I mean, if you recall, Bill Clinton's Justice Department broke down a door and stole a little immigrant kid right out of his fucking house. Remember old Alien Gonzalez?
Yeah.
That was quite the thing. They can do that. They can break into a former president's house and root through his model
wife's drawers.
Yeah.
And yes.
Look at Melania's underwear and everything. They can do what they want. See, the thing about it is here, guys, is that Trump doesn't want any of this stuff done. All he's doing is a bunch of other stuff. And where it comes down to what we voted for you for really was to like cut waste, fraud, and abuse, get to the bottom of some of this shit, put more money back in our pockets. America first. Remember that whole fucking thing? But now he's gallivanting all around and trying to convince us through propaganda that this is America first policy.
So that's a little confusing for me because of all the things that happened to him. I kind of thought with him going into office and knowing Trump's personality,
so did I.
that I thought he was going to retaliate. He was going to definitely do something against these people. Now, maybe he is. I doubt it because it seems like it's kind of hard for him to hold his cool. And so it seems like this would have happened by now.
You know what? If Trump didn't have anything over him, he would fucking do that in a heartbeat. He would do it in a heartbeat. He doesn't really care about the state. You think Trump cares about the state? No, Trump cares about Trump. If there wasn't something he had to hide, which I guarantee you he does in that Epstein file, you can convince me otherwise. You can say, oh, no, he doesn't. But what proof do I have to believe that? When they have been required by law to produce this information, yet it's all blacked out. And you think that's just because he's got powerful people that he's trying to like protect, or he's protecting the institution? The institution tried to fucking kill him twice.
Yes. And so that makes it kind of suspicious as to why.
Don't you think? And then, people will say, well, gee, he's not saying anything. Don't you think the Democrats would have done this? No, because they're in it too.
Yes, they are as dirty as it could be.
Yeah.
What was I going to? Anyway, go on.
Anyhow,
it'll come back to me.
It's just like, they have the power to do whatever they want. And you and I, as the public, all we get to do is just to sit by and expect to go out and vote for the next person that comes through in 2 or 4 years and tells us how great things are going to be.
So what I was going to say is, as far as Dan, I agree with you that there's been some kind of discussion.
100%.
But I don't know. And again, this is like the Elon thing. It's just a gut feeling. I don't know that he's 100% been cut free from I would still say that he's on the payroll.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, who knows? Because we don't know where any of that money goes. Right. Mm-hmm. And here's the other thing. Here's another rant. How's this Nick Shirley guy, a fucking 20-something-year-old YouTuber, going to be the person that brings down a fraud ring and exposes all this fraud in Minnesota, when we have the Justice Department, Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino and all these other fucking criminals that aren't really doing shit where it needs to be done because they're not interested in getting rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse until it comes to light, or it's politically advantageous, as it is with getting rid of this Tim Walz, because he's a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. He's a corrupt piece of shit like Gavin Newsom is, or any of these other people who are at the top that are grifting, that were nothing when they went in, and now all of a sudden they're worth $300 million by working on the government. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So they could have done this, but they have to have a YouTuber expose all the corruption. That's weird to me. They don't want to get rid of the corruption. So we're all just being lied to.
Yeah. Circles right back to that, huh?
Yeah. Well, this has been very cheerful.
I know you were starting to get fired up. I was going to see how far you were going to go.
I know I was about ready to wind it down, but it's just like the more you think about it, it's like, gosh, damn, there's all this stuff out there, and how am I supposed to process that as just a retired homesteader here in Northern California? Well, I will say this, that we lost one of our representatives unexpectedly, old Doug LaMalfa.
Yeah, no sweat off my back.
Yeah, not really. I mean, don't think he was serving us in his best interest as much as he was serving and being an apparatus of the party. There were some things that he brought back to our district. He was our representative here in Northern California in District 1. Big fat guy. Well, he wasn't fat when he went in. He was pretty stout, but he became a fat guy. And I don't know exactly what he died of, but he unexpectedly died right around the first of the year. And that was kind of shocking to hear. But, he was the guy that would run. I think he'd been in Congress for damn near 20 years or more. But
I think he's been as long as we've lived here.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was always on his banners. It would say, he's one of us, and it would have a little cowboy hat because he used to be a farmer, but now he was just he'd become a swamp monster. And he had a meeting here not long ago, a town hall. And boy, I'll tell you, people showed up to give that guy the what for, because he voted for the big, beautiful bill and all this other bullshit. And that was like the first town hall he'd done in 8 years. But he's one of us.
No, he's not.
Not anymore. But anyhow, may he rest in peace, and condolences to his family, regardless of whether or not, because I don't know what we're going to get in return, right?
This is true. We could get something worse.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
but it is sad for his family.
Sure. Yeah.
Nobody should lose a loved one, but
yeah. But anyhow, been entertaining talking here, Rebecca. I've been just running my mouth for about an hour or more.
Yeah.
Probably a lot more than an hour. Anywho, I think well,
you get a little more fired up than me.
Yeah, I do, because I don't know. I think about things, and then I try to make sense of them, and oftentimes it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, it's not that I don't get fired up. I just feel that it is not good for me to get that wound up.
Yeah. So
I'm able to maintain it.
Well, see, this is why men die sooner, because we get our fucking blood pressure fired up over stupid shit, and yeah, no, it's all good. We're doing well here in our part of the world, and we're moving forward, trying to be a little bit better each day and making some progress out here on the homestead. In fact, I got to go outside and get some things done here this morning. I got some limbs I need to bring down, and
I have some eggs to collect. Yeah.
So again, we hope everybody has a fantastic and has had a fantastic New Year's. And
I hope that 2006 is 2026. That is a bad habit for me. You got the 2 on the end and you got the 6 on the end. 26.
It's close. It's close.
Yeah. It turns out better than last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope so as well. Yeah. Got some plans this year, I think, but nothing set in stone. So again, thanks for stopping in and joining us while both her and I kick around, I guess, our assessment of this past year politically. And again, you have to take the good with the bad. It hasn't been all bad, and it hasn't been all good. And I'm trying to, I guess, just assess it objectively, but not be so stuck on where I sit on things, because we don't really know. Right? Correct.
We do not know.
Yeah.
It is only our guess. Our guess is as good as yours or anybody else's.
Yeah, it's true. But anyhow, thanks for joining us, guys. And we're going to get to work. We got things to do out there. And yeah. Got any fun?
And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you are.
Well, I was going to ask, do you have any parting words of wisdom, Rebecca?
That was it.
You're always holding these little nuggets right till the end. So you want to let people. You're blushing. What's going on over here? Anyhow, is that it?
That was it.
Are we done?
Bless you all. I hope you have a beautiful 2026.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.